America has a super soldier in the war against China. His name is Rahm Emmanuel. And this is actually refreshing to see from the Biden administration, and I think it's hilarious. Welcome to China Insider, I'm David Zhang. Now, if you've been watching China news for a while, you might know this term of how aggressive and how low the Chinese diplomats are. They're called wolf warriors, and the name comes from the equally cringe movies Wolf Warrior and Wolf Warrior 2, the sequel, and that stars patriotic action star male lead Wu Jing. Now, the idea is to take aggressive postures and tones. The CCP has your back, and so you can project that in diplomacy. And that's what the Chinese diplomats think. And so they're called wolf warrior diplomats. And that's how it was born. Now, this guy, Wang Yi, the current foreign minister, and he's like the head wolf of the pack. They use offensive remarks and degradation as their weapon of choice, and they're the frontier to bark for the CCP's rhetorics and narratives. Well, now America has also a wolf warrior too, and his name is Rahm Emmanuel, the current U.S. ambassador to Japan. Rahm has been tweeting some rather sophisticated jabs at the CCP on Twitter, and in both English and Japanese. He's from Chicago, so should we call him Chai Warrior Diplomat or Chai Rag Warrior? Well, in a speech this week, he openly criticized China's actions using economic coercion against other countries, namely Taiwan, Australia, and Lithuania. I love this because it's a rare sight from the Biden administration that a top diplomat would lose the gloves and put on a knuckle and openly call out China's BS. In fact, according to NBC News, Rahm has done it so well that the staff of Biden's national security team has told him to cool it, because it could hurt the attempt by the administration to mend with China. Come on, give me a break. This is like the best thing to happen in the Biden administration in a very long time when it comes to China. I wonder why the Biden team is so scared to poke or make fun of the Chinese Communist Party. But Emmanuel's spokesperson disputed the report, calling it, quote, absolutely not true. Well, admitting it or denying it, Rahm seems to be having so much fun, he continued to tweet about it. And I'm not sure if he's giving the middle finger to who? Biden or Xi, or both. Today, he tweeted pictures of Chinese fishing vessels near Japan's water, which comes just weeks after China started a whole entire narrative around the Fukushima's water release. And now look at them. They're fishing near Japanese water. Rahm says, quote, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Chinese vessels fishing off Japan's coast on September 15th post China's seafood embargo from the same waters. Hashtag Fukushima. These subtle yet powerful jabs are important, and they're very much needed. Even if he's just being censored now by the Biden administration, he's basically still using pictures to show the CCP's hypocritical nature instead of using words. The Chinese Communist Party, on one hand, is bad-mouthing Japan and banning their seafood products for the so-called release of nuclear wastewater, but on the other hand, they continue to fish in the nearby ocean. What's the deal with that? What the ambassador here is doing is actually quite brilliant. He's using the hypocrisy of the CCP and the lies to strike right back at them. You know how important information and narratives are for the Chinese Communist Party, because they always want to dominate the narratives at all times, trying to rewrite history, the perception of the party, and the ongoing narratives surrounding whatever the diplomats are creating for Communist China. And they use lies and really twist realities to distort facts and promoting misinformation. So there's been a void in the fight against that, which means that no U.S. officials, at least one that comes to my mind, has come out to combat this head on like Rahm has. And so what Ambassador Emmanuel is doing is simply waging a narrative war that's best been fought by officials, but it hasn't been done for so long, which is much needed. And now you may know that prior to him being the ambassador to Japan, he was the mayor of Chicago. Maybe you don't like his domestic records or his politics, but it is worth noting that his way of combating the CCP has been very different from the rest of the Biden administration and even some in the Trump administration. So to be honest, the Biden administration has done way too much to appease China. From not wanting to provoke them to offering olive branches to their troubles, it seems so unnecessary to me to offer so much to their number one adversary. For them wanting to censor Emmanuel, it's quite sad. We need more voices speaking out against the CCP, whether that's Republican or Democrat, right? Sure, the Biden administration is trying to engage with China over the bilateral relationship, keeping it steady for the time being, but it doesn't mean that we have to close down all forms of otherwise forms of messaging, right? Just to cave to all fronts. That's not how it should be. And the Japanese ambassador is a very important role, right? Not only does it represent U.S. interest in Japan, it is the most important ally that the United States must defend in the Pacific region. And right now, Japan's role to protect Taiwan, the peace and freedom across the region, as well as a counter to China, it's super important. So if the US ambassador to Japan doesn't stand up for Japan, it's not a sign of just conceding to China. It's actually a sign of not representing the bond between the two nations. So in fact, to me, what Rahm and his team are doing here, even his predecessors, what they must do is be more aggressive in preserving the rights of Japan with the United States, but also to defend against the actions from China. Right? Not just because it needs to be done, but because it shows a sign of solidarity and a sign for the world that how important the geopolitical relationship in the region for the US, Japan versus China, but also for other countries nearby too. It's the one where the US cannot back down. And I actually think what he's doing right now is really good. He's been tweeting against the CCP's narratives for a while. Now, for example, in one tweet he says, quote, as Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, something is rotten in the state of Denmark. First, Defense Minister Li Shangfu hasn't been seen or heard from in 3 weeks. Second, he was a no-show for his trip to Vietnam. Now he's absent from his scheduled meeting with the Singaporean Chief of Navy because he was placed on house arrest. Might be getting crowded in there. Good news is I heard he's paid off his mortgage with the Country Garden real estate developers. Hashtag mystery in Beijing building. Now, in just one tweet, he was able to make fun at the opaqueness of the CCP politics, where its defense minister goes missing and nobody knows why. None of the public explanations are given. And now he's also making fun of the CCP's rotten real estate industry with the Country Garden industry going down. Similarly, in another tweet, he says, President Xi's cabinet lineup is now resembling Agatha Christie's novel, And Then There Were None. First, Foreign Minister Qin Gang goes missing, then the Rocket Force commanders go missing, and now Defense Minister Li Shangfu hasn't been seen in public for 2 weeks. Who's going to win this unemployment race? China's youth or Xi's cabinet? Hashtag mystery in Beijing building again. This is pure comedic genius, right? This is like, how can you ask for better? This is crazy. It's so good. During the ongoing wave of the CCP attacks over Japan's Fukushima water release, Emmanuel didn't back down. Not only did he eat lots of fruits from Fukushima, as well as fish from the area, he also welcomed House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik to Japan, letting them also have a taste of Fukushima products. The same thing, he invited the commanders of the US Navy and other forces to join him for food with the Fukushima peach. And a bit further back, he tweeted that, talking about a cruel joke, China's rising youth unemployment coincides pretty well with the start of President Xi's second term and his crackdown on China's tech and education sectors. Coincidence? I think not. It may be time for Xi to join China's, quote, lay flat movement to limit the damage of his policies, just one person's view. These are really smart comments. They're not making up things. These are actually things happening in China. That's the reality of the CCP today. So everything he says is what everyone's thinking about. There's no lie here. Xi Jinping did mysteriously make his top foreign official and defense spokesperson disappear. And nobody knows why. So this is like, you're just simply showing them what the real situation with the Chinese Communist Party really is like. And then, of course, there's also the all sorts of economic trouble and youth unemployment. Again, these are not made up. Unlike the Chinese wolf warriors who actually blatantly just creates or makes up stuff and lies, or they just simply beat people up, at least Rahm here is just using the CCP's own conditions against them. Take a look at this. The Chinese ambassador, or the former Chinese ambassador to France, Liu Shaye, he made live remarks on TV saying that the sovereignty of Ukraine and in the past other countries, Taiwan, don't exist. So Liu's remark says the following.
Le droit international, même ces pays ex-Union soviétique, ils n'ont pas le statut, comment dire, effectif dans le droit international parce qu'il n'y a pas d'accord international pour concrétiser leur statut d'un pays souverain.
So what he basically just said is that countries like Ukraine doesn't exist, neither does Poland, Belarus, Romania, Bulgaria, many other countries, right? He instantly offended almost every former Soviet state there were. And then in similar fashion, in Manchester, UK, the former consulate general there physically assaulted protesters from Hong Kong, and they attempted to drag them into the consulate ground, which of course is considered to be a foreign nation or territory of China in this case. That's straight up kidnapping on UK soil. And that guy then went on to British TV to further justify his action as protecting the sovereignty of his country. Watch this.
I don't attack anybody. I'm the peacefully.
That's not true though, is it, Consul General? You pulled the man's hair.
Yeah, the man is because he's abused my country, my leader. I think it's my duty.
To pull his hair?
Yeah, I think any diplomats, if faced to such kind of the behavior.
Like, how uneducated and thug-like are you to have people like this be your diplomat? And so in comparison for me, Rahm Emmanuel is simply just a little bit more eager and spontaneous. It's not even close to being a wolf warrior. It's more like he's a much needed fighter against the CCP. And that's just my thought today. All right, that's it for the episode on the Japanese or the US ambassador to Japan's comment so far toward the CCP. Let me know your thoughts in the comment, like this video, and subscribe to our channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching China Insider. I'm David Zhang. We'll see you next time.